You're on mute now, Revit.
Okay, is that better now? You hear me now?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, okay, wonderful. So, yeah, actually, I just wanted to share a little bit of my experience as a newcomer. So, as a newcomer in Canada who arrived through the private sponsorship program, yeah, I just wanted to share some of my experience and or what I went through or what I have observed and learned my first year in Canada. It's not even like I haven't been here like for a whole year actually, like maybe 10 months. So anyway, it can be different actually for everyone, and maybe other people would have had different experiences, and you might experience or go through things differently. And I'm not telling you what you should decide to do or where you would live in Canada because everyone have different priorities and dreams in their lives. However, I'm just going to share a very general information on what happens and what you can expect when you actually arrive in Canada based on some of my experience and other newcomers' stories. So you will go through Canada's orientation class abroad before your flight, but it would be very helpful to hear the story of someone who has experienced it firsthand. So usually refugees who are flying to Canada are very excited that they have finally made it to Canada and are free, which is not a bad thing at all. However, that excitement would be like maybe for a few days or weeks, and then the reality kicks in. And I'm not trying to scare you, but I'm just trying to say that you should prepare yourself. And I want you to come here with the right mindset that settling in a new country is not the same as going for a vacation. I myself, I was expecting those challenges and I had actually mentally prepared myself. So, I mean, it was not very bad overall for me. So, the real journey and battle actually starts after you arrive here because you will have to make some of the most important decisions in your life. You should set your priorities and you will discover yourself and your passions. You might experience a lot of differences, culture shock, and some challenges, of course. So when you get here, you will start asking yourself, okay, I'm here now. What I want to do now? Where will I stay? Or do I want to study or just work? What do I want to study? Or what type of work do I want? You will be thinking a lot about a lot of things. Even sometimes you might be wondering why are you even here or what you're doing here. Or there might be times where you would feel lonely or isolated, or you would probably feel like you want some friends quickly, which is legit and makes sense actually. Or maybe even there might be times you're like, oh, I want to be in a relationship or something. But anyway, when I arrived in Canada and moved to Bancroft, I was first like very confused and I was pushing myself so hard to make a decision, about my life like the next day. I remember I and my sponsor, we had a conversation the second night of my arrival, and he was asking me when I was thinking I would be ready to go to work or something. And I said, like, next week. And actually, yeah, it has been the same for many of us that when we arrive, we want to go to work like the next day because we have stayed so many years in a country where we were not able to go to work. So we kind of rush and take things too hard on ourselves and push ourselves so hard to make a decision fast. And a lot of times it can be very overwhelming and stressful, not realizing that it's not how it works. So, what I'm suggesting is you should take your time to relax a little bit, get accustomed, and adjust it to the new environment, and learn more about your new home and how things work here. Things will flow and sit in place, and you will meet new people and you will make friends over time. And I think it's okay if you're unemployed for like a couple months while getting accustomed and also looking for a job. Don't stress yourself out trying to get a job like within a week or so. And yeah, I think you can take anything for the first job. You don't really have to worry about that, because if you don't really like it, that's fine. It's not going to be your permanent career. And yeah, I'm just thinking you should not expect to get rich overnight or to become a successful person like within a week. I just want you to set your expectations realistic, and it is okay and very important to have dreams, but you also need to understand that things take time and you should be patient, and everything will be okay after a while, after some time. And I think the first year of living in a new country is about, learning and figuring things out, getting adjusted, discovering yourself, and finding out what you want and where you want to live or what type of work you want, or if you want to study or go to college, what do you want to study? I think that's the first year about it. And in the first year, try to explore and learn, maybe make some friends, network, and get adjusted to your new home. So I myself have been here like almost a year, and I'm still trying to figure a lot of things out, like going to college or pursuing my career and what my passions are and a lot of things. So, and another thing to keep in mind is, yeah, just don't push yourself too hard to make a decision like so quickly, because things will be challenging like the first couple years, but also, yeah, things will change. So relax and don't overwhelm yourself, trying to figure everything out or making a decision so fast. Because after like few years, you will get established and things will be much easier and different. The good thing is, I have always said that you all have sponsors here, and they can help and support you a lot. You will not go through stuffs and things on your own. Your sponsors' support is extremely helpful in your smooth adjustment and integration into your new society. So treat them as your family and best friends. Build a respectful connection and relationship with them. And indeed, this group of five private sponsorship that Canada initiated for the first time in history is a wonderful and unique program that brings people together. And if, for example, anyone who is doing like research about this program watch this meeting someday by chance, I would say thank you, Canada, for creating this. And this is wonderful and a successful program. And I'm sure they would get a very positive feedback if they do like a survey on this. And the other thing which I would like to talk about is just some general, maybe laws and regulations. So each country has its own laws and regulations and principles. And when you enter to a new country, you should respect the law and follow the rules. And I'm talking about just simple things like traffic rules and regulations, because I know in some countries, I mean, they might be okay driving without driving license or something, but that's not the case in Canada. And in Canada, the law and people value diversity, and there are different people, cultures, different backgrounds, and different sexual orientations. So some of these cultures or things here might be different from what you are used to or where you come from. But in Canada, you should respect everyone regardless of their background, gender, skin color, or their sexual orientations. So I guess I would talk a little bit more clearly about this sexual orientation and the LGBTQ community. So same-sex marriage and homosexuality is legal in Canada, and their rights are protected by the government. And I'm not talking about whether you should like it or not, or agree or disagree, because I guess that's a different thing. But I'm just saying that you should not discriminate them or mistreat anyone here for, their sexual orientations. And also in Canada, a lot of houses, they have like maybe pets, like, I mean, dogs or cat or anything. And I know maybe in some countries it's okay to like, it's like a little bit common, maybe, I guess, to, physically abuse the animals, but not in Canada. Like, if you go to Canadian houses, like, I mean, like a lot of them, they have like dogs or, Thomas, like, I mean, pets. And even if you don't like them, you cannot physically abuse or something to the animals. And also for those who are married and have children, so again, I'm just saying that in some cultures, it's okay to, for example, like domestic violence or something, they might be okay with that. But in Canada, I guess you cannot physically abuse women or your children because that's against the law. And yeah, that's pretty much it. And before I forget, I just wanted to say that if you arrive here in wintertime, um, you don't have to worry too much because Canada is not always cold. And yeah, that was all I think. And if you have like any questions or anything you want to say, you're very welcome to ask.
I see Sadiq has his hand up.
Yeah, I'm asking, when you arrived in Canada, what was the biggest challenge you faced with?
That's a good question, actually. Okay, so I arrived on November, and then after like a week, it snowed. And for me, coming from Indonesia, a tropical hot country, it was not easy to get used to the cold weather. It took me a while to get used to it. And also, I think it's just like, yeah, getting adjusted in a new environment and new people. It can be a little bit challenging because I didn't stay in Toronto. We moved to Bancroft, and in Bancroft, I didn't have friends like from Indonesia or from our community, like from Hazara community, I mean. And yeah, all those people that I met in Bancroft, they were all new to me, and yeah, so it was a little bit challenging the first time, adjusting, and I was feeling maybe a little bit lonely. So yeah, that was the challenge.
One more question. Do you know about who those people who are smoking? How about the smoking in Canada? Which places not
Well,
allowed to smoke?
I think you can smoke in outside and outdoor areas, which is fine because a lot of people do. A lot of people smoke weed and cigarettes, but um, in Canada, like even in the bar or coffee shop or something, you cannot smoke inside because in Indonesia you can smoke in the bar, in the club, in some coffee shops and restaurants. They have a designated area for smoking. But yeah, in Canada, you can smoke as long as you're in outside, but not inside. And even when you rent a place, a lot of them, they will not allow you to smoke inside the house. So yeah, get prepared, to smoke, and especially if it is winter and outside. Okay, so any other questions or thoughts about settling in Canada. Okay, I have. Oh no.
I see some hands up now.
Okay, so Muhammad Hashim Asani.
Hello, everyone, and I hope you are doing well. I want to ask the same question as the Mr. Sadeghi asked. Are these challenges the same for the single and families or no? Do you have any experience? Thank you so much.
Well, I think it could be different for families because when you arrive here with your family, you wouldn't be feeling that much lonely or something, maybe because you have your family with you. And I think the challenges will be just, I mean, different for families and singles. Like, I'm not saying that families wouldn't have any challenge at all. They would have it. It would just look maybe differently than the single. But yeah, it's not, when I was talking about there will be challenges, I was just trying to say that you should prepare yourself and come here with the right mindset. And I'm not saying that the challenges will be like forever and always and scary. No, not at all. Because I also said that after a while, everything will sit in place. Everything will be okay. You just need to give yourself some time to get adjusted. And after a while, everything will be fine. So any other questions?
I think Ali has a
Ali
question.
Riza. Okay, Ali. I cannot hear you actually. Ali Riza. No, we can't hear you.
Excuse me, Brother Rahmat.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that there's also questions in the chat if you could read it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
18 years old, mean if someone wants to come here. Okay, so for above 18, yes, they can go to school and they can go to like college and universities. I myself, I'm still like trying to get into college or university. I want to study, but yeah, I'm just still trying to figure it out. But from what I know is if you have your high school diploma from Afghanistan, you will need to get a credential here through West organization, and then you can use it, to enter to university or college. Or even if you don't have a high school diploma, you can still go to college, university. You will have to probably pass a test and then a quiz from the university so that they can qualify, like.
That's really helpful. And remember, just to add to that too, one of the things that I think we will be planning as part of how we want to support you is we want to bring some people here to another meeting who will talk about the educational system. We have colleagues that work in colleges that can really give us a lot of information. So we'll make sure that that's, because I know it's an important topic for a lot of people. So we will make sure that we build that into one of our meetings, that we have somebody coming to talk about training, upgrading, qualifying, just like what Ramit said. There will be some things that you have to go through, but it's all possible.
Yes, and before we ask another people to ask their questions, I just saw another question here in the chat. So how about the kids? Is there any support from the government specifically for the kids? I actually don't know because I don't have any kids. So David, if you know anything about it, when they arrive here, do the government support the kids?
I think it depends. Certainly with the school system, I think there are a lot of supports, and the family will be very connected to the school, to other parents, and their sponsors will be really helpful at making those connections. I think that's the one thing that I was going to say when you talked about the family, rather than just an individual. I think there will be many opportunities for parents to get connected to other parents because of the school, going to school, taking your children to school. There will be a lot of connections that will happen. And there's a lot of supports around the school. If the child has any special needs, I would hope that those will get addressed very clearly in the school system. So I think that will be very helpful.
Okay, so I would ask Ali Muradi if you have any questions.
Well, thank you so much, brother. Hello, everyone, and thank you so much. It's good to see you, Mr. David, also.
Thank
This
you.
is my first time that I meet you, all of you, here in a Zoom meeting. I am so glad to see all of you guys are okay. So my question is regarding to education, because I've been studying here in Indonesia, hospitality and hotel management. I am about to graduate and very soon. So I'm starting on my final paper. So based on our status, so they will not give us a degree like a bachelor degree. However, they will give us a completion certificate, which is my question is, can I get can I continue my study after I get a certificate from here, or can I apply to another university there, probably community um, sponsorship, like can help me to continue my study as well in this field? Or is there any like best way that I can connect with during this time that I am here, and also I talk with them? Is there any connection? Thank you so much.
Those are great questions, and I think they're going to be better answered when we can bring an expert to our meeting to really talk. But I think there are possibilities. I don't think you can actually enroll in a program until you are in Canada here at one of our colleges or universities. But I think there are a lot of options, and we do need to make sure that we bring somebody here and we answer all those questions, because I think that they are really important. And the work that you've already done, the studying that you've already done will really help you move into the next level here once you get here, for sure. But we need to address those questions. Those are very important. That's preparation work.
Yeah, so
Thank you
for
so much,
those
Mr. David.
questions, we will have another programs as well that we will specifically talk and discuss about university and college and study and all that stuff. And we will have people that are, expert in that area, that knows and a lot about that. So we will have another sessions for that.
All right.
And
Thank you so much.
yeah, thank you. Muhammad Hashim. Muhammad Hashim Asani, did you have any question? Okay, so I think he is not
Yeah.
probably hearing us. Okay, I will just
I see Ali's got his hand up there.
Liriza.
Yes, I hope you can hear me now.
Yes.
I do now.
Thank you. Well, Rahmat, lately I've been quite excited, watching documentaries, reading, either it is from web page or books or whatever I get that, possibility and opportunity to learn about Canada. But here's a question that I would like to know from your own perspective, and that is, when we are arriving in Canada, perhaps we are so excited at the same time we are nervous. Is that right? Yeah, we're mixed, with this feeling of nervousness, how things will open up to us, and related to the jobs, finding friends, concerned about how could we really manage our life, keep that balance between career and personal life. So the thing is that I would like to know, what are some of your two top ideas or recommendations that we have to focus from very earlier time when we are arriving, that could impact on a longer term for us. So we should not just spend major time on minor things that could be something yeah, that we could be thinking this is something that's really important. Yet by the time, as the time goes by, we realize that, oh, I wish I had spent more time or focus, or I wish I could learn more about this particular thing
Hmm.
that could have had a bigger or more positive impact in the longer term. For example, a year passes by, so we realize, oh yeah, this would be something better. So it could be something related to finding a good job, or we have to spend more time or explore more to find the job that we are really desiring to have. Or it could be perhaps getting education, or for example, we are thinking about the high cost of education, or we are thinking that how I might be able to really afford this, or what if I lose my job and then I'm not able to pay that. So you know that we are mixed with the insecurities and excitement. But by the time we realize that, oh, some of them were really important, but some of them were just useless. I was just wasting my time concerned about those things. So as it's been almost a year that you're in Canada, what was something that you wish you could do differently than you have done now? That is the question.
Well, that's a very interesting and actually a very good question. I think I myself, and also in a lot of cases, also a lot of like refugees that come from Indonesia or maybe probably from another countries, a lot of times they don't know what they really want and what they really want to do. Like when I arrived here, I had no idea like whether I wanted to study or if I just wanted to go to work. Like I was like, I don't know. And even like if I was going to study, I had no idea what I wanted to study or what type of work I was interested in. So I think before coming to Canada, that is two important things to to sit with yourself, talk with yourself, have a conversation with yourself, and ask yourself, do you want to study? Like what your priorities are. You have to think about the circumstances and the consequences. Like if you study, you will have this, and this will be your challenge. But if you just go to work, yeah, there will be this. And then you can, I think, identify whether which one you are really interested in. Do you really want to study? And if you do want to study, you need to figure out like what do you want to study? Like what is your field and what area you're interested in? What is your passion? And yeah, if you want to work, just go to work. I think you should at least have some idea of okay, what type of work do you want to do? And I think that that's just important to understand, a little bit before you come in Canada. But even if you don't know, also I think that's fine because you don't have to push yourself so much that okay, you should figure out what you want or what you want to do. Because I think like when you arrive here, you might go through some confusions and some challenges, but over time, you will, as I said, you will discover yourself. Because in Indonesia, you never had the time to actually to think of going to work or going to study. So you never had the chance and the opportunity to discover and find yourself. But when you arrive here, you will start thinking, okay, I'm in Canada, so I need to go to work or I need to make decision about my future. And then you will go through things and only then you will have the opportunity to think and to seriously ask yourself and you will discover yourself.
Thank you, Rahmat. That was really great.
Yeah, no problem. And okay, so is there anybody else who has a question? Actually, okay, I'll just check the chat here.
I actually have still one more question if there isn't any other. So if others have any questions, I would just still give the chance. But if not, then I would ask.
Okay,
Sorry.
so yeah, sure, Larissa. First, I would just
Yeah.
answer to the question here in the chat section.
Sure.
So somebody is asking, when I arrive in Canada, when does my healthcare start? Does it include dental and eyeglasses? So I think your healthcare, it starts as soon as you arrive here. You can get your healthcare, your health card. But about the dental, I have, yeah, there is like 1,000, I guess, insurance from the government for the dental. But for the glasses or for the eyes, I actually don't know. And David, if you know anything about it.
I would have to do a little bit more research, but I know that there are support. So if you do need dental care, there are ways to get that, because it's not, dental care is not covered by our health plan, unfortunately, but you can find ways to get dental care. And I think the same thing applies to eyeglasses and, eye exams as well, that there are ways that you can access that. And so make sure that that happens for sure. But unfortunately, they're not covered by the healthcare plan itself, but they will be covered for you. You'll find ways to do that.
Yeah, and I think there is like some insurance from the government for the newcomers, because when I wanted to do like I wanted to fill my teeth, and I, you know, had to take out my wisdom teeth, so it was covered by that insurance, I guess. So yeah, but that's, I think, very basic.
Great. Great.
Yeah. Okay, Aliriza, so you wanted to ask another question actually?
Yeah, thank
I
you.
think he may have
Uh,
froze.
well, the question, Rahman, the second question is, we have to be really crucially honest in this question. And I would like to know, all I think in this meeting, imagine there is a 30 people. I'm not really sure if among 30 people have three of us any college degree. I'm not really sure if the three of us have a college degree, for example, right? Mr. Aman, could you please mute your mic? Okay. So, I mean, most of the people, almost all of us, don't have any college degree. That is number one thing. Most of us don't have any professional career background. Yeah, we have got some basic skills working in construction shops, things, doing, a particular job that is already 10 years old, expired, because we were doing that before we arrived in Canada. And most of us have already forgotten that. And besides that, the lingual, challenge, most of us are still not able to really communicate in English fluently, which is the key to finding those or creating those opportunities, which is really crucial for our life in the future. So a person who arrives with the lingual barrier, a person who arrives in Canada with zero, having no degrees or educational background, right? And a person who arrives in Canada with not having any idea of what to do, what not to do. So, I mean, this. You have known such a kind of people. What could be the best way? What could be the thing that these kind of people could really find their way easier? Like, for example, should they, first of all, how hard is this to get a job? Right, because that is the number one thing that everybody is trying to focus on. That I have language problem, I have no professional background or experience or work experience, I have no degree. What kind of job this kind of people will get, and how difficult is that or easy is that to get a job? Yeah. And what could be the right course of action that this person can improve himself personally and professionally? What I mean by personally is that he could improve his language, he could also improve his career opportunities. But if this kind of person just start going to college or university, I think it's impossible, right? Because they are still in a very basic level. So is there any kind of courses that could assess such a kind of people, or any kind of particular group or community that they could get acquainted with, so they can learn and find their feet sooner in Canada?
Yeah, so I think that's a very good point, which you know talked about. So not knowing English very properly can be very tough and challenging for those who don't speak English like very well. And we have always taught them that before arriving in Canada, they should, you know, put some time and effort in learning English because that's very essential and that's very important when you actually arrive here. And like, I mean, going to a new country, no matter where do you go, selling in a new country by itself, it can be challenging, let alone if you don't know the language, it can be even harder. So I suggest you, before you come here in Canada, put your time and focus more on learning English and improve your, you know, speaking skills. Like you can do it, you know, like for example, through Google or YouTube, there are videos or there are some applications which you can use to improve your English. And actually, like after you arrive in Canada, I think also there are classes which you can take to, you know, you can enroll into English classes. Because I myself, I don't know a lot about that because I never had to do that in Canada. But I will just let David to, you know, explain about the English classes in Canada for the newcomers.
Oh yeah, certainly there are classes that you can take, but I really want to reinforce what Ramit has said that taking this time now while you're waiting to work on your English skills will be a tremendous benefit for you. And that is one area that we want to continue to explore how we can provide even more support for you if that's something of interest to you, because it is critical. Like Rama said, it's just one less barrier to deal with if you're comfortable with the language, at least to understand a little bit. You know, you don't have to be perfect. Nobody wants to, or expects you to be perfect, but if you can understand and communicate a little, it will go a long way. And that's something that we want to really work on, is supporting you with that. And the second thing is around the job things, education. It really comes back to education. And we want to really be able to, again, provide you with information that will help you plan for your future. You know, one of my dreams is that we'll have organizations here that are wanting to hire people that will come and have these conversations with you about what types of skills you need and what type of support you need. So we're really hoping that, and I love Ali's point about the fact that, you know, it has been many years maybe since you have done certain types of work. So I'm going to see what we can do around maybe figuring out, assessing sort of your interest there. I know many of you say, well, I don't know what I want to do. That's okay, but let's start a process to figure something out. Like, what are your passion areas? What are you really good at? What things can we support you in? Because if we could start that work now, a little bit at least, it will be really helpful. But you don't have to have it all figured out. I think that was Rama's point very early on. Like, you've got to give yourself permission not to know. You know, you've got to come and you got to explore and you got to talk to lots of people. Canada is one of these countries, and I'm not sure if your culture was necessarily the same, but Canada is all about networking. It's all about talking to people. It's who you know. And I think that's really important. And you're going to feel more comfortable doing that if you have some language that you're comfortable with. Again, you don't have to be perfect in your language. None of us are. I'm not even perfect in English, let alone other languages. You have a head start on many people because many people here only speak one language and you speak two or three. So, yeah, I think you raised some great points there.
Yeah. And to add to some of Ali Riza's questions about work and professions, actually, so for those people who have had no experience actually in work field, like they never, you know, worked. I think in Indonesia, that's what I was thinking. Like if you go to work, anything like it could be restaurant, coffee, or any other factory or something, work, even if you don't get paid, just go volunteer. Just do it for free, just to learn. Because I have a friend here. He also came from Indonesia through this program. But actually, like he was previously was working in Iran, but in Canada, usually when you apply for a job, when you apply for work, they will ask you your resume, and also that they require you to have like Canadian work experience. And for a lot of people, that's a big challenge because they just arrived here and they don't have Canadian experience. But what I'm telling you is, yeah, his sponsors, they put him in connection with some people that were working in that field. I think it was like I don't really remember where he was working, but when they asked him, "Do you have like Canadian experience?" He said, "No, because I just arrived here, but I have experience. I was previously working in this area, and I have work experience like of 10 years or something." And they were like, "Oh no, we want Canadian experience or something." And he was like, "No, I already have experience in this. Let me just prove my point. Let me show you in action." So they actually put him on a trial to work and to see if he actually has experience working in that or not. And then he showed them, he worked for them like on a trial, and they saw, okay, he's great in doing that. He is doing great. So they hired him, and he is working now there actually. So my point is, while you're in the country of where you are seeking asylum, even if you don't get paid to do a job, I think it's really good to go and work, just volunteer, just to learn, just to get some experience. Because I'm not telling that will guarantee you a job, in Canada, but I think it can be helpful for you to, at least when you start a job, you have some, prior experience from other places.
That's a great comment, Remit. And I think one of the things that we want to be able to help you with and to try to better understand is, what does Canadian work experience really mean? Because I think that's kind of a mystery for even us Canadians. Is it how you communicate with people, how you treat people? Do you understand the culture? Because it's not necessarily the work itself, because if you have, say you've done a particular trade or work, you know how to do the work. So what we need to help you with and help ourselves with is to learn, what does Canadian experience really mean? And if we can get a better handle on that, because I honestly don't know, like, what does it mean? Well, does it mean how you get along with your peers, your friends? So we got to do a little bit of work there and continue to work with that to help you and help ourselves understand that.
When I was hearing about the Canadian work experience, or Canadian education background, I was thinking that no, you have to spend that amount of time and work and realistically in Canada, and you have to have that qualification in Canada, then you will be able to be qualified for a job or something.
Yeah.
But it might be something different, or there could be some other ways that we don't know.
There are other ways actually that you could go around to that Canadian experience thing. Because as I talked, I had a friend that he also came from Indonesia. He had experience of working in Iran, and he got the job here because he had experience, and he worked on a trial for one day, and they actually saw his work. They were like, "Oh, okay, he's actually great in doing that." So they hired him without any Canadian experience. So if you are good at what you're doing, if you have experience of, some specific work, there is I think, a high possibility that you will get a job.
Yeah. I would like to ask one more question. It might be funny, but yeah, it just popped up in my mind. That is, when, for example, when we go to a new place, right? We don't know anything, like some basic things on daily basis, like a good deal restaurant, so we could have just food on budget, or we could have take some better way of public transportation, or on shopping, on doing things. I would like to know that how have you experienced managing your finances, and what are some tips that could help us so we should not just dash out money every day going for everything we just spend, finally coming back home with an empty pocket? So I wanted to know what are some tips that could help us on managing our finances, because everybody knows that Canada is an expensive city and all the notes or coins are in dollars. So we have to be very mindful with that. And of course sponsors would help us to find better way of shopping, things like, but how do you manage your finances, what are some possibilities for newcomers, like any investment opportunity? I know it goes to other way, but something that we could make sure that our money or our monthly income is going to, part of it is going to the right way of saving. Part of this we could put some monthly budget, and we could spend this wisely, because normally people go somewhere and the only thing they can do is just to pay money and solve the problem they face. But how could we do that a little bit by reconsidering, and we could find a better deal, a better way, or a cheaper way at least, to get daily things done without overspending?
So I myself, I'm not the expert actually in finance. Maybe there it is,
But
or
I mean,
probably.
from your own experiences,
Yeah, I
like
think Perry is
perhaps
also here.
you're doing much better than the first days you arrived in Canada, right? Right or not? Now you know where is the right way to do your grocery shopping, what kind of clothes you have to buy, when you have to buy, and how could you pay for your electricity bills, taxes, things, all this stuff. So those experiences.
Yeah, I think it's a wonderful question. And I think it's something that you can really work with your sponsors about, because they know the ins and outs. So I think that's where your sponsorship team, and many of the things that we talked about today, I think your sponsors are the ones that are going to be the first line of support. They're going to know these things because you won't know the cost of certain things. And so that's where it's really helpful. But again, it just takes time. It takes a little bit of time to get that type of comfort, for sure.
Yeah, exactly right.
Sam? Okay.
But that's a good question, because it is something that's really scary, actually. When you go into a store, you don't know the price, whether that's a good deal or not. And there will be some what we call sticker shocks here. When you see the price of something, you'll say, oh my goodness, this is far more expensive than when you're in, say, Jakarta, for example.
Of course.
We have time for another couple of questions, I think, Ramit, if you want to. And then
Yeah,
we'll.
so there's another hand up actually. Muhammad Hashim, do you have any question?
Yes, bro. My question is, how long does it take for a newcomer to adapt to the Canadian society and the people there, Mr. Ahmed?
Oh, that's a
Good
question.
question.
Yeah, that depends. I think for everyone it can be different. It may take like from like probably 6 months to 2 years or 3 years, even I can say, because I mean, it's not just about Canada. No matter where you go, you would go, like, for example, to Australia or US or any other country, it doesn't matter. It will always take some time to adapt and to get adjusted in the new environment and in the new society. And you should give yourself some time, to get adjusted. It's okay if you don't know, a lot of things. It's okay if you sometimes feel lonely or you don't have friends, actually. That's fine. That's just the normal, that's just the process of, getting, adapted and adjusted in the new country. So I think it may take some time. So for me, I think it took me like at least 7 or 8 months. And I'm still, trying to adapt. I'm still trying to adjust. So it's not a process of like 5 months or 6 months, but I think it can be a process of maybe years. Yes. Okay. Negin Sarwari.
Yeah, hello everyone. I'm so happy to see you once again. And my question is that which state of Canada is more affordable and the best place you can live in?
Good question.
Yeah.
So, David, you might know more about it because I
Well,
actually know a lot.
yeah, certainly places like Toronto or Vancouver are very expensive cities to live in, but they also bring other opportunities too. So it's not one or the other. I think it depends on your interest, the type of work that you want to do. You may find that a place like Toronto is the best place to be, even though it is expensive. If you enjoy small town living, there are lots of small communities that are much more affordable. But you'll find that the bigger cities, even out west, places like Edmonton or Calgary, these are biggest cities in Canada. They are expensive, but Toronto and Vancouver probably are the most expensive. But that's okay because people will find their way through, and it may be the place where you have the opportunities that you need as well. So there's no one answer to that question for sure. And it's also, I wanted to mention just one quick point about places like Toronto and maybe Vancouver, but Toronto for sure. It's a very multicultural city. And when the last person asked about how long does it take to adjust, I think it's a lifetime of learning because we're always learning to relate to different cultures, different folks, and it's a journey that all of us are on. You know, you have a particular journey, but many Canadians are on the same journey as well. And I think that's why I really enjoy Toronto, is that's a very important piece of our life here.
Yeah, and for the affordability and the expense of life, I think in Toronto it is expensive. But if you, for example, gather with some other people, with your friends, to actually like rent a place about housing, I mean, if you share a house, it will be much more affordable for you, like because no, in Toronto not a lot of people will, rent an apartment or a house just, on their own by themselves, because they will have to share it with other people, so that way it will be more affordable.
There was one quick question that the resume raised around paying taxes, and that's a big question that many of you will probably have to understand. But when you are employed, you will be paying taxes from day one. I mean, they deduct it from your paycheck. So when you get your paycheck, there will be taxes that are taken off, including things like pension plans as well. Now, the good news is that it depends on how much income you earn. At the end of the year, when you file your taxes, you have to do you have to report your income to the government. You'll likely get a lot of that back. So even though you pay it up front, you will get some of that back hopefully by April when you file your taxes, or at least many of us do. But you do pay from day one if you get a job where you get your pay deducted from you. Rahman, I think there's one more question.
Yes, so from Ahmad Azizi.
Well, yes. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, first of all, thank you for this session, and it's very informative actually. And the question is, as I hear from my friends and a relative in Canada, that if you want to get the driving license, I think it's very too long. And I think I heard it was like if you want to get the full driving license, I mean mm, the best one. I mean, if you can go to every road, highways, everywhere, it would take you up like 4 or 5 years. Is that true or no? Because yeah, I just wanted to know that.
Well, I think if you have driving license from your home country, you can actually apply for a Canadian license here because you already have a license. You will just have to pass a road test and then you will get your full license here in Canada. But if you don't have any license from your home country, yeah, so the process will be like, yeah, first there are different types of license. Then the first level is G1, which allows you to drive, but not just by yourself, because you will have, 4 years experience, driver who has a license, a full license, must be, sitting beside you to instruct you. And then, like, if you take a course, you can go for G2, driving license. You can pass road tests after 8 months if you take a driving course. But if you don't take a driving course, you will have to do it after 12 months. So after having G1 that you cannot drive by your own, you will have to wait until like 12 months, and then you can, go for G2 and do your road test. But if you take a driving course, you can do it after 8 months. And then the third level is like, the full license, the full G license, that's, I think, the highest level that allows you to drive anywhere. And also for G2, actually, you can drive by yourself. There are just some, regulations which you will understand, I think, when you arrive in Canada. And for G1, you can drive when there is an experienced driving license with you, but just not everywhere. You cannot drive at night, and also you cannot drive on the 400 series highways.
So, like, how long is the period? Like, approximately how long it's?
David, do you know how long will it take to actually obtain a full G driving license?
I think just what you described, if you take a driver's school lessons here, I think a year you could have your G2 and you can drive. Now, if you want to drive a truck, that's a different type of license that you would need to have. Even to drive a motorcycle, there's a different license for that. But it certainly doesn't take 4 years. Within a year, if you get your G1 and then you get your G2, I think, Rema, you're right. It's about a year. By then, you'll be able to drive any place in Ontario or Canada, actually, at that point.
Yes.
So the period is like 1 year. You can drive anywhere, right?
I
Yes.
I would think so. Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Yes, you can.
Kind of expensive, but you can.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
Very great. Okay, we will take the last question. Muhammad Hashim.
Mr. Ahmad or Mr. David, I want to ask for a person who enters to Canada by sponsorship process with his family or as a single person, is there any help or benefit from the government?
Through the private sponsorship program, you mean, if they arrive?
Yes, of course.
Uh, I don't think there is any like financial support from the government if you arrive here through the private sponsorship program, because you already have your money in the bank, and that money is for you, for your first year of living in Canada. So you can rent a place, or get your groceries or any other things. And yeah, I don't think there is like any financial support from the government, if you arrive here through the private sponsorship program.
Yeah, I think
Thank
you're
you
right,
so much.
Ramit. Yes, but if your children, though, have special needs or they're in school, there'll be services provided that's covered. Your health care is covered. But the private sponsorship program, it's your funds that have to be used, and your team will support you with that. But there's no government support. That's the whole idea of the private sponsorship program. Okay. So Rama, did you want to say anything more?